Hi, folks. So sorry about that. Let's see if we're able to get everybody back in. I see folks are joining right in right now. One moment. Let me get Carol back and let me get Courtney back, and then we'll continue our conversation. All right. So sorry. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Technology is definitely not being as cooperative as I'd like it to be. So let's see 1 second and see if we can get Courtney back. Thank you all so much for your patience. Yay. Okay. I can see that folks are able to join us again. Courtney, I'm so sorry about that.
Hey.
Thank you for hanging in there. I know technology can be a pain. Let me see if I can get Carol back in the call. But if you want to continue where we were before we dropped off, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, and I think where Carol was really talking about is that these ideas of parents and families and they somehow are gonna misuse these types of support systems, these types of essential care infrastructure, and how they're really these kind of dog whistles that actually just don't really hold water and don't hold truth. And so how do we really kind of fight back against these type of really incorrect statements? And I think again it kind of goes back to sharing our stories. Right? Sharing our stories and particularly sharing our stories with folks who have the power, who have the access, and ask them to elevate those stories and work on our behalf. And I think, that's really what we've just been so fortunate to cultivate here in Oregon with Senator Ron Wyden, and I would say too, with so many other members of our delegation as well too, on the congressional side, Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici has just incredible. And I think it's, they were already coming to a place of understanding, of investment. And I think that the work that we've done with them, the work that we've done to travel across the state and have conversations and elevate those personal stories, and share what's happening in real life to real people, and how we would benefit. I think it really just lit a fire under them, and so it's, I think we're going to keep doing that. And I think if there's anything that we can do here in Oregon, to help our friends in Arizona and West Virginia, we can get on the phone, we can do some phone banking, whatever y'all need. We're not giving up, because yes, we may have passed paid leave here in Oregon, but we're still implementing that. And we're in the middle of a global pandemic.
Right.
And a fast spreading new variant. And we need paid leave right now.
We really do. Thank you so much, Courtney.
Yeah.
And our friends in Arizona, I want to invite our great friend Josue, who works with Poder Latinx as the Arizona State Director, to join the live. So let's see. Technology is really
not hasn't been our friend. It hasn't been my friend today.
Yes, mine neither. But hello, Josue. I'm so glad you're able to join us.
Hi, Josue. How are you? You're on mute or something. We can't hear you. Hi. How
Can you hear me?
Yes, that's perfect. Okay, so this is a day for tremendous patience. I'm sorry to everyone. We got popped off for a second. Yeah, we were just on talking with Courtney and wanted to really just lift up in this moment from the state of Arizona. What are y'all thinking? What are your next steps? How do you understand this moment with Joe Manchin essentially saying that he's going to vote no on Build Back Better? He has been signaling this for a while, but he's also been deeply involved in negotiations. And we know that although she's been quiet for a while, your Senator Sinema has also held up the process. And so what do you think will happen into the new year? And what are y'all fighting for?
Thank you so much for having us here today. We understand that we're in a historical moment. And as Poder Latinx, one of our core values is economic justice for people, right? We work with Latino and underprivileged communities. So for us, there is no question that regardless of what happens, we're going to continue fighting and making sure that this becomes a victory, whether it's right now or in the near future. Obviously, preferably now. We can't wait any more longer. But, you know, this was a heavy year. This was a heavy year for us here in Arizona. We learned so much through the process as well. And getting people involved and helping them understand paid leave has been such a powerful statement of the values of Arizona, right? So definitely, we're so happy to be part of this group, of this amazing group of people who understands that the value of people is not under production, right? But who we are as people. We're in the middle of a pandemic, as we were mentioning, and there's no reason why people shouldn't be able to take care of their health and the health of their loved ones.
That's exactly right. And, you know, the explanation of paid leave needs to be shared clearly across the country, since Senator Joe Manchin thinks people will use it for hunting. We know that in Arizona, that hit, you know, was one of the terrible hotspots for COVID, that many people used paid leave in order to protect themselves and their family members. They used it when they had it. They used it, you know, to say stay home, to quarantine, or to recover. The tragedy is that in Arizona, unlike in, you know, other states, the 10 states and DC that have paid family and medical leave, y'all do not have a standard for paid leave. And so people are at the will of their employers to see if they could take time off. This nation probably would have done much better in 2020 if they could actually stay home and recover. And we know that we can't. So now that we're at the height of yet another variant, Omicron, we have to wonder how many people we've told, no, we don't care that you have to recover. We don't care that you need to quarantine. You need to come to work. This country needs paid leave. So what do you think will happen in September? What's your focus? I know that you all have been completely, you know, focused also on climate and immigration. We also know that the parliamentarian pulled the immigration provisions out of the paid leave proposal that was on the table. So what are your thinking? Give us a couple of thoughts and ways that we can support those efforts.
Yes, I think the first thing that we have to keep in mind is that the parliamentarian is not an elected official. She does not dictate what the Senate can and cannot do. It is a suggestion that she is giving. And the people who got our senators in their position of power were elected voters. And those are the people they need to be listening to. We have been sharing letters with both our senators here in Arizona all summer. We've been, you know, forwarding calls to both of their offices here local and in DC, making sure that they hear from their constituents the importance on every issue that we support, right? You mentioned immigration, environmental, and of course, economic justice. We have had, you know, Spanish lives where we teach people how to write their story, and they will listen to their story, right? But we need to focus on that. We cannot let a suggestion of someone who's not going to dictate our future stop us from doing our work. People need to continue making those calls. People need to continue sharing their stories, and people need to understand that, you know, just how they got them to the place where they're at, they can also take them out. Kristen Sinema is a professor at ASU on the Department of Social Work. And, you know, it is unacceptable for a person like that to be teaching morals to students.
That's right.
It is unacceptable. So we need to make sure that we hold them accountable because they are representing a state on our nation.
That's right. That's right. And so there is a lot of work to be done between, you know, as soon as we get back online and fully working, hitting the ground in January. And we deeply appreciate your work. We're going to bring on a national leader, April Verrett, who has been deeply involved in the care economy work, fighting for childcare, fighting for paid leave, and for home and community services to make sure that her workers at SEIU 2015 in Los Angeles, California, but also all workers around the country have access to the policies, to the care policies that they need in order to recover, be healthy, and take care of their families and maintain their jobs.
Hi, April.
So I'm going to turn it over right now. April, welcome.
Good morning. Take care of Sammy. How are you both?
Good to see you.
So
Good.
nice to see you. And
Always nice.
we are reeling, we're smiling because we're all together, but we are reeling and angry about the notion of Joe Manchin going on Fox News, and remember where he went, but Fox News is the worst, going on Fox News in order to finally admit what he's probably meant all along, which is he's not going to support any state of Build Back Better. And I know you've been fighting hard for some of these policies. We've been in rallies together in DC. Tell us, what are y'all thinking from a union perspective, but also someone who's just been in the trenches fighting for care?
Yeah, thank you all. Thanks so much for inviting me. I am furious, right? I am both furious, but also deeply hurt. Because I know the pain and the anguish, but also the real hope and inspiration that families all across this country are feeling. Build Back Better represents the deep transformational change that I know the members of my union, the folks that, Family Values at Work represents all across the country. People have been yearning for change for so very long. And Build Back Better, though it is a piece of legislation, it embodies that change, right? It embodies what working moms feel like they need so that they can go back into the workforce without having to worry so much about who's taking care of their children and their aging parents, right? It embodies the hope for those same mothers with the child tax credit, so that they can, not have to rob Peter to pay Paul, Mary, and Jane, right? It embodies the hope of young people all across this country and this world with really tackling climate change, right? And families who need paid leave and folks who rely on life-sustaining drugs that they can afford them, right? The list of things that is included in Build Back Better go on and on. But I have a little bit of hope, right? Still some hope that those hopes and dreams of Americans are not gonna, just go to the wayside, and that we are gonna rise up and stand up in this moment and continue to demand that policymakers do the job that we sent them to Washington, D.C. to do, right? And I just want to say, and you talked about it through the course of this live stream, it's not just Build Back Better, right? I am furious that this parliamentarian, as Jose Sweat is not, as Josue said, is not elected, right? But can, hold a pen and wreck the lives of millions of people who live and pay taxes and contribute valiantly to our country. And the fact that voting rights, right, is still not taken care of, I think is a tremendous blow to our democracy. And all of these things for me really represent the state of where our democracy is. That one man, right? One man who represents a small state is holding up progress for all of us. And so I'm deeply frustrated, but I remain, as I know you remain, committed to fighting for the change we all want.
I was going to jump in with a question. Honestly, April, thank you so much for being with us. I guess my one question is, as we're looking to keep moving forward, do you have any thoughts on ways that folks can plug in and join us? I know we have a ton of resources here at Family Values at Work. If you look at the bio, we've got some holiday themed resources, thoughts you have on how folks should double down as we keep going for it.
Sure. I mean, I think it's a pretty simple playbook. It is call your senator, call your senator, call your senator.
Yep.
Both of them. And call
and then do it again.
And do it again, right? And then send them an email and then tweet at them and tag them on Facebook and on IG and call your member of Congress too, right? And thank them if they voted the right way, and tell them you're concerned if they didn't, and tell them to get into action too, right? They did their job in passing the bill, but they still play a role and they still have to raise their voices. I would also say find a Family Values at Work network partner in your area and go down and volunteer some time, right? Make some phone calls, send some emails, go on social media, write a check if you are so inclined, right? But get involved. There is work to do. And I know we are going to be taking to all over this country in the days to come.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Love
you.
to you during this holiday season. And I know, rest up, because there's
And
a big fight coming.
Give my family my love. I know that the Joyner Hudson family has had some blows this year and last. And so you all are in my heart and prayers. I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you, April.
Thank you. So, Sammy, this is amazing. And for our final guest, we have joining us Jim McKay, who we met in the pouring rain, I believe, fighting for paid leave, a West Virginia brother who's about to come on. Hey, Jim,
Hey.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm Carol. We talked a little bit. You see Sammy.
Hey.
Hello.
So if you've been listening, you've heard all that we've said and what the guests have sort of stressed. And we talked a lot about your senator, as everyone is in the country. And we're just curious. We know that you're fighting in your organization, West Virginia Action for Children. Is that what it is?
So I'm the director of Prevent Child Abuse West Virginia, which is part of Team for West Virginia Children, and we are proud to be part of the Paid Leave Works for West Virginia coalition. Our coalition includes moms, dads, grandparents, small business owners, veterans, retired individuals, people from every corner of our state of West Virginia, different organizations, the Center on Budget and Policy, Planned Parenthood South Atlantic, Main Street Alliance, Moms Rising, American Friends Service Committee, just tons and tons of organizations, but most importantly, it's individuals working alongside each other because paid leave matters. We know that paid leave helps small businesses. We know that it helps moms and dads and babies. We know that it helps that it works for older adults. It works for veterans. Paid leave works for West Virginia. And we have been working on this for years. Hearing from Oregon and others who have moved this forward, we are excited. We've had a study at the state level 2 years ago. We worked and met with state leaders at the legislative level. We've had bipartisan legislation introduced, but this is a problem that requires a federal partnership and solution. Our state borders 7 other states, so it's not just about West Virginia. We know all eyes are on West Virginia, and we have been working in every corner of this state so that no one has to choose between their livelihood and caring for loved ones.
Well, Jim, the reason it's so important for you to lay out the level of organizing that's been happening in West Virginia is that people are not hearing that in this country. And it's almost as though, there's Joe Manchin and then there's, West Virginians, and what are they doing? And it's clear that you all have been working hard on a number of economic justice issues, paid leave included. What do you think in this moment? What's the path forward in your mind? Or what are people talking about in West Virginia as to the path forward for getting comprehensive paid family and medical leave, but also, the health care policies inside of Build Back Better and the child tax credit that we know more than 350,000, because that's written everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
West Virginians are benefiting from the child tax credit that's going to sunset fairly soon. What's the path forward in your mind?
Well, one of the reasons that number is written everywhere is because West Virginians have been sharing that number. It's because, we know the impact that this is having on families, and those families have been talking about this, relying on this. Their families are struggling in our state. They were struggling before the pandemic. The pandemic has revealed how vulnerable everyone is. We know this is also an equity issue, and we are all of us are working side by side to address it. There's a sense of desperation, but there's also a sense of resolve and determination. The people of West Virginia have gathered. We started a national movement around educators and the rights of teachers, and mobilizing for the teacher strike. Those were West Virginians. And then that sparked a national movement that went to Oklahoma and Arizona and elsewhere. We have people, again, every community in this state. We've had businesses on Main Street. One point I want to note, Carol, you said that, and without paid leave, a business doesn't care if someone has to work. Well, you got to be at work, because I think those businesses do care. They do not like the fact that they don't have the opportunity to cover and let their employee have the paid leave that they deserve to care for families. We've heard from businesses all over the state that are really struggling and want to provide paid leave, but need a federal solution to make that happen. The child tax credit is helping so many families that are living in poverty or near poverty, put food on their table, address the rising costs, and there's a real anxiety. But again, West Virginians are strong, resilient, hardworking. We call on Senator Manchin to meet and look West Virginians in the eye and meet with West Virginia families, West Virginia grandparents, and talk about how they're using their children's child tax credits to make ends meet, particularly as we get ready for a long, cold winter. Families need that security. They need that peace of mind. Imagine a family laying their head down to sleep at night and having the uncertainty to know they're going to be able to make the rent this month or pay for a repair.
Or put food on the table. I mean, one of the effects of the child tax credit is we're seeing, hungry children, the numbers of hungry families and hungry children go down. And so there are so many ways in which this bill would be a game changer, monumental for all families in this country and for our economy. And I guess on that point about businesses, we know that in the paid leave movement, there are thousands, particularly small businesses, that want to have paid leave, that need it in order to level the playing field, to make sure that they can provide paid leave and say yes when their employees need to take time off. We also heard, though, during the pandemic from too many people who said that I got COVID because I had to go to work. And as a result of having to go to work and not having paid leave, I not only got it, I shared it with employees, and family members got sick. And so we have to look at both of those issues. And the only solution, as you've said, the only solution is federal policy. The most comprehensive paid family and medical leave policy you can win right now, which happens to be 4 weeks. But it's 4 weeks for people who probably have nothing. And so the path forward that I'm hearing from you is about encouraging the senator to look at his West Virginian brothers and sisters, to talk with them, to see them in this moment. And I have another request that he look at the rest of us as well, because his saying no to this policy, yes, devastates West Virginian families, but also impacts millions of people all over this country who have the same needs for home and community services, for reduction of pharmaceutical costs, for insulin that costs $35 and not $1,000, for the child tax credit support, and mostly for climate change mitigation policies. We have a lot of work to do. And so, Sammy, final question.
Yes, final question. Jim, how are you staying? I think that's a big question I've heard from friends. Like, how do you do this job? How are you doing? What are you, I want to think on the light that we each can hold while we do difficult work.
Well, I appreciate the question. I buffered a little bit, but for me, I'm a prisoner of optimism, of hope, and so when I look, it certainly was a setback. Sunday's comments caught us all off guard. And it's a setback that really is a challenge. But then hearing from everyone from all walks of life, and being in this work alongside, I have so much privilege that I have not earned for my position, but to work alongside families who are struggling to put food on the table, to small businesses that are trying to keep their business open through a pandemic, for older adults who are worried about chemotherapy and Alzheimer's and how they care for family. Like, that's where I get my hope, is from other people. I'm an extrovert, and so I get that energy in that way. And I just, I'm inspired by what I see from every part of our state, and we appreciate the support, the positive support we have outside our state's borders. West Virginians are really a strong people. We have a diversity of opinions, and it's not just about one or two people. It's not about Jim McKay. It's not about Joe Manchin. This is about the people of West Virginia, the children of West Virginia. We need to make sure they deserve to be our number one priority, and we won't stop fighting until they are.
Amazing final words. To you and your family, I hope they enjoyed the pizza last night. So to you and your family, and Sammy, to you, we have a lot of work to do. So as I said to April, let's rest up. Let's sharpen our saw. Let's think more, progressively and organize more deliberately, because we have work to do in 2022. And then we haven't even talked about voting rights, but that's also on the table. So my best to y'all, to everyone who has been part of this, this live, and hope that we love you, and we're fighting for everybody to have a more prosperous life and a healthier family.
Perfect.
Thank you.
The only thing I'll add is, when we log off, go to the Family Values at Work link in bio, and you can take action right now. Email, tweet, and call your folks, and then do it again tomorrow and the day after and the day after, so that we can win this. But thank you all so much.
Take good care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.